Hi guys, Lisa here. I am so stoked to be able to announce a new paper making / journal making series on this channel, Zodiac journals. I don't have a better title for the series as of yet, but basically I will be making Zodiac journals. Journals based on each Zodiac sign. Throughout the entire year I will be releasing a new journal every month-ish. And I will try my best to make it from as many recycled materials as I can, which means that my choices will be a little limited, but I'll try my best to make it as accurate as I can. And we're going to be kicking off the series with the current Zodiac sign, which also happens to be my Zodiac sign, Sagittarius. I have to admit that I'm actually not an expert in astrology whatsoever. I actually know quite little, but I am really excited to learn, and I will be asking all of my astrology friends for help as well as you guys. I would love to know your ideas, but I will talk more about that in the end. But for now, I really hope you're excited about this idea, that you like this new series, and I'm more than stoked to start on a journal inspired by my own Zodiac sign. I know it's very biased, but my birthday was just a few days ago, so I am very much in that Sagittarius spirit. So let's just stop talking and let's just start. Let's go.
Alrighty, here is the pulp I prepared for this journal. It's a real big bucket, so here's my face for reference. I love a fresh paper pulp. It's so fun to stick your hand in. I want my paper to turn out a little speckled to try to capture the chaotic energy of the Sagittarius, so I made sure to choose paper with a lot of images on it, and I was a little conservative with the blending, so hopefully some speckles will turn up. I am going for white pages because Sagittarius don't linger in the past but see the adventure in the future. I'm going to be making a bigger journal, so the pages will be big, which means that I have to start with a lot of pulp in the water, which I, like always, blend in very well. I want chaotic pages, not lumpy ones. I am using these new sheets that have a slight texture similar to the mesh of the mold. I take my A4 mold and deckle and scoop up the pulp. I let the water drain out and lift off the frame. I transfer the sheet to the cloth, press it in, and use my sponge a lot to squeeze out the excess water. Bigger pages are more fragile and can be harder to transfer properly, so I use the sponge as much as I can to increase the chances of a smooth transfer. I then carefully lift up the mold, and my first Sagittarius page is made. Now to put this aside and make a bunch more. The idea that I have for this journal is based on the Sagittarian's desire for freedom. Thanks to my friend for the suggestion, I will be creating a travel journal. Not even so much a travel journal, but more the journal of a traveler. I want it to look like someone made it with stuff they found along their travels and created while sitting next to a campfire in the woods or something like that. So I want a nice amount of pages to create a solid journal that has a lot of space for all kinds of adventure. Once I've made enough pages, I hang them up on a drying rack, careful to not damage the wet pages, and then let them dry overnight. It is the next day and the paper has dried, so now we can do the satisfying job of peeling each sheet off of its cloth. My first impression of the pages is actually pretty good. I love the speckles on the page. I think it's a perfect combination of chaotic but not obstructive for any use of the pages. Some of the pages are a little off-white because of some coffee stains from my previous project, but I kind of like that look. The pages are a little bit on the thin side and are more fragile than normal, but I still think they are usable. They now need to be flattened, so like always we will be using my trusty book press. I feel like by now it should have a name. Happy birthday to this book press, by the way. My friend made it for my birthday a year ago. So I add the stack of pages in the middle and I close it up and tighten it. I don't tighten it 100% at first, but gradually tighten it more over the course of a few days to prevent the pages from damaging. While they are flattening, we can go work on the cover of the journal. I am choosing this fabric for the cover, which will wrap around the text block. It's very sturdy. I think it's part of a curtain. I found it in one of the boxes of scrap fabric that I got from a seamstress. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and this burnt orange reddish color seems suitable. I do admit I'm a little biased because it happens to be one of my favorite colors at the moment. First, I am ironing out any wrinkles and folds of the two pieces of fabric. I am putting two pieces together to make sure the cover will be sturdy enough. I'm also adding a piece on the inside to function as a little pocket to hold stuff like postcards and maps and leaves that the Sagittarian collects along their travels. I'm first going to be gluing the two pieces together, but I will also be sewing the sides. Partly to reduce the fraying of the edges, but also to enhance the handmade look. At this point, it would have been maybe convenient for me to have a sewing machine, but unfortunately my apartment is already overflowing with craft supplies and I'm working from my kitchen table, so that's just not in the cards right now. So I will be sewing these pieces by hand. But because I wanted to look like a Sagittarian made it along their travels, I actually think this will be better for the real handmade rough traveler aesthetic, so you won't hear me complain. I'm marking the sewing line with a water-soluble pen to make sure I keep a straight track, and I pin the inside pocket flap in the correct position. I also trim the edges to make it easier for me to sew. I've chosen to use a yellow thread. It's another Sagittarius color and it matches the cover well. Later on, I will bind the pages with a toned down yellow thread that matches as well. I am doubling the thread so it shows up a little more and then start sewing. I'm really not a very practiced sewer apart from a few little fixings here and there, but I do really enjoy doing these fidgety things. I'm just sewing across all the sides and sewing the pocket along with it as well. I actually really like how it turned out, so I only need to trim the edges and then spray down the sides to dissolve the pen. While that's drying, let's go back to the paper. Here is the flat stack of pages, all ready to be turned into a journal. I have picked out the 30 pages I'm going to be using to make a journal of 120 pages. Like every time, I fold each page in half and then collect them into 10 signatures of 3 pages each. And then this will be your text block. I take each signature and use a template to prepare the binding holes with my awl. Then I take my finished cover wrap and use a second template to also prep the holes in that, because I will be doing exposed binding. Once all the holes are made, I'm ready to finally be binding it all together. I'm using this linen yellow thread, and here I really made it way more difficult for myself than necessary by taking way too much thread at first, because for some reason I was determined to bind it all with one piece. I also waxed the thread with rapeseed wax to make it stronger to bind with, and usually to reduce tangling. I thread my curved needle, get my first signature ready, and start binding with a French link stitch. I do have a tutorial if you want to know in detail how to do this stitch yourself. I'm not going to lie, this is probably the most difficult binding experience I've had so far. Typical, the stubborn Sagittarians. Because I had way too much thread to work with, it kept getting tangled and I spent a lot of time just untangling the thread. Also, because the paper is quite fragile, I had to be extra careful to not rip the pages while binding, which I managed most of the time apart from a few rips that don't impact the overall binding, so we got there in the end. I do really love the exposed binding with this stitch, and I think it's perfect for the handmade look I'm going for, and the color of the thread pulls the entire color palette together. Once the binding is done, we can now go onto the closure of the wrap cover. I didn't have a lot of choices for the wrap, but I did find this thick flat yarn made from recycled cotton that I think will work for this journal. I also decided to use a carnelian crystal. It's not necessarily a Sagittarius crystal, but it is also a fire element. And it's motivational, gives courage, and promotes positive life choices. Perfect for a Sagittarius on the go. But because I'm using a thick wrap, I am not able to wrap it around the crystal, but luckily for me, this crystal already has a hole at the top, so I'm easily able to make a hanger out of it. I don't have pre-made hanger thingies, but I do have wire and small pliers, so put one and one together and I can create a perfectly fine hanger thingy. I genuinely do not know the term for it, but you'll see. I make sure it fits and then glue it into the crystal. Then I just need to add the wrap by poking a hole in the flap and tying the yarn onto the cover. Then I can add a crystal hanger to the end and cut off the excess. Now, as a last finishing touch, I am adding my stamp to the corner of the cover. And then the Sagittarius travel journal is finished. So here it is in all its glory. I personally think it looks great. I know I am probably biased because I did not only make it, I am also a Sagittarius and these are my favorite colors. But I do hope that you like it as well. The stitching isn't my neatest job, but it doesn't look half bad. I like the hand stitching along the fabric cover, and the fraying on the sides give it that rough look that I love for this journal. The wrap is maybe a little bit excessively long, but practicality isn't everything. Talking about practicality, the little pocket is actually amazing and I'm so happy I decided to add it. The crystal is a perfect color, and the pages, even though they are a little fragile and some ripping happened across a few holes, they do look great and still usable if you're a little creative. If you actually think you would like to have this journal, I will be putting it up for sale. I've never sold a journal this size before, but I have gotten some requests lately, so if you're interested, check the link in the description. I would love to find a good home for this journal.
And there you go. Thank you so much for watching episode number 1 of my new Zodiac series. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you agreed with my choices. Maybe you didn't. Please let me know what you thought of this. And also, please, I would love to know, what is your Zodiac sign and what are your ideas for the journal inspired by it? I want to know everything. Please hit me with your ideas. I am so excited. I will be doing all of the Zodiac signs, so if you're really curious about yours, please stay patient and make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button so you will get notified with every new video of mine. I'm also trying really hard to create a more consistent uploading schedule, but that's honestly a little more difficult than I anticipated because I genuinely just don't know how long a project will take when I started, but I am doing my best, so bear with me for the time being. I will get there in the end. Thank you so much for watching and for all of your support throughout everything. I hope you love this new series just as much as I love it. I am so stoked. Drop all your suggestions and opinions down below. I would love to hear it. And for now, I hope to see you next time. Bye bye. A Zodiac. The Zodiac series? The Zodiac series. Zodiac series? It's Zodiac. The Zodiac series. It's a Zodiac series.